Hey, Miguel here, singing tree flutes. Oh, I just thought I'd do a quick instructional video on the standard drone flute, or the straight drone flute, I call it. Um, I've done some other videos on the more elaborate drone flutes like the harmony drone, the split drone, the alternating drone flute, but I've never done one just on the basics here. And really, there's not a whole lot to it, but drone flute, that means drone is a constant note that plays with whatever melody you're playing. So you have the two mouth holes here, and the one side just has a constant note. That's where the word drone came from. So when you play the melodies, that constant note, usually tuned at the fundamental note, the bottom note, in this case low D, it'll just drone at that note while the melody is being played on the 6-hole side. Yes. So again, all drone flutes that I make have the two mouth holes, and this can be always played as a single flute. So when you get a drone flute, you can always practice and make sure that you can get a nice clean tone out of the melodic side. Make sure the fetish placement is in the right place. So really, if you can play the single flute well, it shouldn't be much to just, move your mouth over to cover both holes at the same time. Some people like to have this one sort of set out a little bit more, so the mouthpiece is a little bit longer on the 6-hole side, and some people feel like they can switch back and forth as a single to a drone flute easier. I find it easier just to keep it's a little bit rounded off like that. It doesn't go straight across, but it's rounded off, and I just lean back and forth and play it however I'd want to, as a single or as a drone flute. Pretty easily. I'll show you that in a minute. So here we have it. Again, what I was saying is you play that melodic side over here, and if you just move your mouth over to cover the holes, it should just naturally, everybody has a different breath pressure that they play, but it should just work just fine. The only thing that you may notice is your phrasing might have to be a little different, because you're going to run out of breath a little bit quicker on a drone flute because you're blowing twice as much air through the flute. So for example, if you were to, your breath would allow you to play a melody like this. With one breath, you may find that you have to shorten whatever phrasing you would do before you have to take a breath, such as so that's one of the only things that you may have to alter just a little bit. I have a pretty big lung capacity, so I don't have much of an issue on most flutes most of the time. And the other thing that I like to do, it's not in all of my drone flutes, but most of my drone flutes, I like to have the drone pop to the high octave just by a little T sound with your tongue and a little bit stronger breath pressure. So, and that creates two notes for the drone side, which gives you a little bit more dynamics. And so I naturally play on the 6-hole side. I use that T sound with my tongue a lot when I'm playing the higher pitched notes on my flute. I always call these the bottom notes, hole 1 and 2, like this. I've heard other people say this, but if you know anything about music and you're reading on a piano or on silver flute, any of the other instruments, the fundamental note is all notes closed. The next hole above that is your first, or the first note, second note, third note, fourth note. That's why I call that hole 1, hole 2, hole 3. Other people call it this way, but if you are studying music or on that, the scale starts from the lowest note. So that's just why I do that. Anyhow, see how I did that to the T sound and it popped up. So that's what I was saying. The melodic side, I do that naturally when I play the single side of a flute, or a single flute. And that will automatically almost make the drone flute pop up to the next octave. So as I'm playing, it just naturally will pop. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes I have to push it a little bit harder. But if I relax my breath, I can play the whole scale on the low drone, or the whole scale all the way to the bottom note on the high drone. So here is an example. Once I drop that bottom note, it's going to automatically go back down to the low drone. But that's quite a bit of dynamics in there. Really, that's all there is to it. It's just going to be a matter of practicing your breath pressure and reconditioning your phrasing to fit with how much breath you need to blow into the flute. And other than that, it should transfer nicely from a single flute to a drone flute. It shouldn't take a whole lot of effort there. I'll just play a little bit here. All right, well, good luck and enjoy. Just keep that in mind. This is a low D drone flute, and this instructional video can transfer to any keyed flute. This is a little bit large if you're just starting on the drone flute, probably for most people. But that should give you a start, and just see what you can do with that. All right, thanks.